North Carolina State Highway Patrol.
What cigarette do you smoke, Doctor?
A contributing factor to our juvenile delinquency of today.
Rock and roll has got to go.
And welcome back to the Hometown Holler. I'm Daniel Ayers.
And I'm Quinn Ray.
Well, hey, man.
It's a sunny day outside, but we got stormy weather in here.
Stop it.
Just went right into it.
Yeah, I like
Come
it.
on.
I like it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we've only had a couple return guests.
Yes.
And today we're graced by one of our all-time favorites.
Yes, Miss Stormie Daie.
Yeah.
Come on. I'm up there with Pink Starburst, really?
Oh, 100%. I mean, yeah.
Oh, man, that's a bad analogy
You
for
are-
me, Stormie, because they're number 2 in my book. The red Starburst is number 1.
I'm an orange starburst. The orange one is my personal favorite.
Daniel also
but
sleeps with his socks on.
I do.
I can't. I was like, I'm actually a cold
Gotta
person.
cover them ankles.
I will always use a blanket. It could be middle of August in North Carolina.
Do you have a weighted blanket?
No, because I don't want to have to clean it. I've seen horror stories on TikTok because it's so heavy. It gets wet.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so yeah, I guess, but if it's on top of your comforter,
your
right?
sand.
Like mine never gets. Mine's not dirty.
You have a
right?
weighted one?
Oh yeah, I've got 2.
Yeah.
I've got
Same
dogs
time?
and brown makeup.
Not at the same time,
Oh.
but I do have one that is kind of like the workhorse, right?
There
Like,
you go.
it travels, right? It goes with me.
It goes with
the weighted blanket. It's. I'm just gonna pitch it. This will be our banter for today.
Yeah.
I'm Daniel Ayers, and when I'm on the road, I choose weighted blankets. No, whatever. No,
Anxiety. It's
like-
everywhere.
It's. I mean, I like it because it's like going to sleep being hugged all over your body. It's like a full body hug.
Really?
Yeah, that's how it feels. I like it.
I call it my cocoon. I know I'm gonna call
Yeah,
it
you
my,
get it.
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
be wrapped up tight. I like my feet tucked in
Yeah.
over my head, and then I leave a little opening for my mouth to breathe in cool
So
air.
let me ask you the Stormy.
With a
kinda-
fan blowing on
With
you.
the fan.
Are you guys back sleepers, belly sleepers, side sleepers?
Belly.
I'm a stone. I roll.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I toss all night. I'm awful. Stormy day. I'm
True.
tumultuous.
Well, folks, if it wasn't obvious enough, today on the Hometown Holler, we are joined by a true force of nature.
Stop it.
Artist, activist, educator, and show-stopping queen, the inimitable Stormie Daie.
I'm looking behind me like, whoo, thank you so much, Dan.
You know, last year when we had Stormie on, I was like carrying equipment into the studio, and there was a guy at the bar next door who was outside and like was like, "What y'all up to?" And I was like, "Oh, we're in podcast interview. Well, who y'all interviewing?" And I was like, Stormie Daie." And he was like, "Really? Like she's come all the way here?" And I was like, "Yeah." And we got to talking, and this guy thought you were Stormy Daniels.
I'm getting that a lot
Yeah.
lately. That is how people. I'm like, no.
And I did not correct him.
you're-
I let this guy believe that we had Stormy Daniels.
I think my wigs are better, but she might have the tits.
Hey-yo.
Come on. So,
Yeah.
give her that. That's so funny. I did a poll once, and it was who's your favorite Stormy, and it was Stormy Daniels. Stormy, the rhino at the zoo was named Stormy.
Oh, cool.
One of the Kardashians' babies' names was Stormy that year, and a cow that kept on escaping a nativity scene. Her name was Stormy. She took the highway.
I think I'm Team Cow.
3 times. I
Yeah.
was Team Cow too.
And I love you, Stormy, but that cow, I mean, that's
They replaced her. I feel so. Wherever Stormy is, I stand.
Oh, yeah. If she's running from a nativity scene, I am too.
a founding member of the Durham-based House of Coxx. Stormie has been making waves for over a decade, not just on the stage, but in the streets, in classrooms, and in the fight for justice. Through the art of drag, she tells stories that demand to be heard, honoring Black Southern traditions while pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Whether she's lip-syncing for her life or organizing... You lip-sync. I've seen you perform, and you lip-sync. I mean, it is... You sing your heart out.
You mean that's not her?
Whether she's lip-syncing or she's organizing for liberation, Stormie brings power, beauty, and intention to everything she touches. She's here with us today at the Holler to talk about art, identity, and what it means to show up fully and unapologetically, regardless of what that means for you, whether you're doing drag or you're just the kid at the science fair who wants everybody to see their, baking soda and vinegar volcano, just showing up in life, right? Making it happen. And in a world that doesn't always make space, Stormie shows us what it means to show up. So Stormie Daie, thank you so much for coming on the Hometown Holler.
Thank you,
Yeah, this is
Quinn.
great.
Yes.
I guess to kick things off, we had a great conversation last year. There'll be a little bit of overlap because how could there not be? But I want to jump right into this time you're in drag, right? Last time
I sleep in this.
Yeah.
you walked. I mean, you walked in like this, right?
Come on. I woke up like this.
Exactly.
Well, and it's kind of hard too for me because when you're in my phone as Stormie, we communicate as Stormie.
Yeah.
I use she her pronouns when I speak of you, but that is drag Stormie, right? It's not your. I know we were saying you sleep in this, but you don't sleep in
I
this.
don't. It takes me a little bit to look like this. As long as it probably took you to set up some of these cameras, it took me that long to put on one eyelash.
Oh, wow.
Well, they look good.
All four of them.
I think your lashes look better than our cameras and our lights. So who are you in drag that you can't be maybe out of drag?
I think Stormie is more, and simply, and we could layer up. English is a highly contextual language, so words all can mean the same thing. So Stormie is just more. It is literally me taking energy and effort to say the right thing, or be at the right space, or uplift the right cause, or pick the right song. It's taking me effort to match my eye to my gown. In the words of the timeless Judy Garland. It's all about just giving more. And sometimes that does look like giving of me and my time to raise funds. And sometimes that looks like me putting my taint onto the ground mid-song during the high note so all of y'all have a good time and have a reason for standing out in a lawn in the middle of the sun.
My taint touching the ground.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. And that's what, and so Stormie's simply more. I once said Stormie is me putting on, putting on the gig, putting on the tea, the tippin', putting on the look. I sometimes feel this is my regalia.
Okay.
I'm Stormie for special events and occasions, of course, bar mitzvahs and sweet 16s and quinces, but also when my friends are having beautiful moments, or when my drag children are performing, or my drag grandchildren.
A celebration.
Yes, as a celebration. I'm showing up as your grandmother. I'm showing up for you, no different than someone wearing their dress whites. This is to me, sometimes it's my armor, to be honest. I found drag, I think I told y'all, because I was at a school that I was coming to terms with who I was as a queer person, and both to have fun with my life and time and, stressing over books and school and classes. I was like, I wanted to do fun things, and I also wanted to be there for myself because there weren't a lot of people like me. And so dressing up as Stormie gave me a veneer, a shield, a something to both make me feel good to go out, but also make me feel like if I was being left alone for all the reasons we know, a little black queer queen was being left alone in school during that time period, it didn't matter because I was Stormie and I looked great and I felt great.
Right.
So you didn't grow up in drag?
No, I did not grow up in drag, which is becoming more and more common thanks to the little baby dolls. I definitely always gravitated to femme things. If you see on my website, that is not a plug, Quinn. I know you're about to say something. It says I was born black. I was told I was femme. I found out I was gay, and I know that I'm non-binary. And that's usually how I say it in that order. I'm a black femme gay from the South who is a non-binary queen doing drag. Come on.
Yeah, I'm with it. But Stormie overlaps Rafi. Right, kind of what we were talking about earlier, because it's interchangeable to me, and even last time, you presented some as Rafi, right? But you were Stormie.
Yeah, Stormie was definitely there.
Here. And can you just touch on you're not trans?
I'm non-binary person, and that is under the trans umbrella.
Okay,
but I am not. I don't identify as a woman. I use she/her in the traditional sense that Stormie is a woman character or a female character. But I always say I grew up with women, and I know that there are great women out there. I'm not one. You go support one. Hashtag support a black woman. But I also know that I'm very femme. As
Yeah.
I said, I'm black and then I'm femme. I was born black and I was told I was femme. I was like, don't hold your hands like that. Don't walk like that. Don't like those video game characters.
Right.
Like, and so
Laura Croft.
oops, stop it. Let's talk about it. No, Katana. What talking about? Stop.
Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
Come on.
So
So what about though when people see the pride float come through Alamance during the parade and they see it's full of drag queens, but then people are like, boy, look at all those trans on there. Well, what's the difference?
I mean, first off, we're people. And second of all, it's a rectangle square kind of conversation. Sometimes it's a rectangle, sometimes it's square, sometimes it's both, sometimes it's one. Marsha P. Johnson is the mother of the movement. I think of her, the goddess of spring, when I think of LGBTQ peoples. She was a trans woman. She also did drag to make money to support her other trans sisters and drag performers. The first people to be removed or asked not to participate in Pride were trans people and drag queens. They did not want to seem other. They wanted to make cis straight people feel comfortable. And so they said, no trans people, no drag queens. Oftentimes we're lumped together. T.S. Madison says this very well. She says, the trans girls and the gay boys, they grew up together. We're like Pokemon, Digimon. We start off as the pre-evolution, and then, one of us grabs a sunstone, one of us grabs a shiny stone, and we diverge. And sometimes that divergence does cause confrontation. But drag is a meeting place. And there are also cis women who are drag queens. And there are non-binary people like myself who are drag queens. My drag child, Princess Perry Twinkle, they identify with neo-pronouns, Zize Zer, Zize Zim. So it really is, sometimes it is just yes. It's just like, it's just like, you see, we could go on all day. People are animals, but we're not animals at the same time. We need to be better to nature, but we're also a part of this. Sure. You can be in it and still not a part of it, and you can also be not a part of it and still in it. But so, yes.
Okay, Blastoise.
I do love the Pokemon analogy.
Yes.
I mean, actually, I think that's something that most people, because these are all very challenging abstractions for many folks in the binary world that we live in. I don't just mean binary in the sense of a gender binary, but like we are programmed to see everything in black and white, good and evil, them and us and them, you
one
and
and
me,
zeros,
right?
one and
exactly.
zeros.
So I think the Pokemon analogy, you can and you can contextualize Stormie as a chain in the evolution of the Raffi Pokemon, right?
Bam.
Yeah, I think that's very accessible. So this is kind of in that same vein. What do you think is something that most people still just get dead wrong about drag?
Oh, I think one that it's inappropriate for children. Drag is a form of art and expression, just like there is physical art, painting and sculpture that you don't want your children to see. There's also physical art.
Well, let's
yeah.
It being dangerous for children, it's really just people with male bodies dressing up as women. It's because it doesn't go the other way, right? Like at least it's not the same, right? Like you could have a kid in a female body, dressing up as Bob the Builder, and people don't seem to notice that in the same way.
You're right. I think we as a society, I have heard it said that everything we deal with when it comes to gender conversations is femmephobia. We are afraid to be like women. We are afraid to be close to women. We are afraid to say that women are better. So when people come out and when a man is effeminate, that is a problem. And when someone wants to be true to their gender and identify as a woman, that does seem to ruffle more feathers. But there have been trans masked people and trans boys who have been harassed for going to bathrooms. Sam Nordquist was a trans person that was just killed the beginning of this year. So it's sometimes you're not wrong. To be fair, the first fight for the conversations of being trans and queer was at Stonewall, and it more than likely would have been fought on gender-based laws about women wearing pants and women identified people not dressing as women were supposed to dress at that time.
Yeah, that was one of the things that really struck to me our last conversation we had when we were talking about like what is drag and how it could be, and like when you dress up as a superhero, it's drag, and it really has came to the forefront for me and my family, and just the way I think about it. I have two daughters. One drags princesses like it's her job, loves it. The other one drags superheroes with masks and capes and doing that like it's her job. And it just, ever since you told me that drag isn't just flipping to the perceived opposite sex. It's dressing up.
More.
Adopting that next step in your evolution, right?
More. It's about the more. Like, drag is, what's it called? A ghost crab versus a hermit crab versus, a crab. One of the ones that likes to put sea anemones on it. Some crabs like to get some like crab ragoons. Yeah, that was the draggiest response. Quinn, are you a drag queen?
More.
There, see, drag is just literally about doing something other than just who you are. Because like I said, I don't wake up like this every day. My hair is a must. I go outside and I want to dig in the dirt, or I want to play with my dogs. Stormie has to go and perform and talk to people. And I'm using that to champion myself. As I said, Stormie's armor, I definitely use Stormie as a tool. And that is what the traditional is like. I do drag. I am a person. I am a trans person. I perform drag as an art form. And for me, the overlap is real just because we put ourselves into our art. We put ourselves into who we are, I don't know why Prince decided to change their name, but I definitely think that was a part of the whole, am I the persona or am I the person? Am I, Janet Jackson's birthday just happened, am I Janet Jackson or am I Demita Joe? Like, there's always going to be that, like Beyonce. My drag sister always likes to say, Beyonce does drag. She wears the same tights we do. She puts on the same, she don't wear the same tights we do. Beyonce wears tights meant to go into space, I'm sure. But that's not the Beyonce that I'm sure everybody else knows.
Sure.
The one that's on the stage. Like, so it is about the more. Superheroes can be drag. Heck, I think some of these people playing, I shouldn't say playing soldiers. Y'all cosplay. Y'all do historical reenactments. That's drag.
Oh, it's totally. I mean, no, for sure. Like I tell people this all the time, right? If you ever want to see, I would say cisgendered homosexual or heterosexuals, but maybe honestly cisgendered heterosexual presenting. Guys, if you ever want to see that demographic rave about fashion, come to a reenactment.
Come on.
And you will see like a 55-year-old 3-time Trump voter be like, oh my gosh, you guys have to see my pantaloons.
That's so good.
Yes,
and that is a totally a form of drag, right? But I think because it's accompanied with an activity that is traditionally seen as masculine, in this instance, reenacting warfare, there's a blind spot. There's a huge blind spot. But you're right, it is totally drag.
It's totally drag. And I teach about drag as a form of history, and y'all told me I don't have to prove anything to you. I know y'all love me, but when I do talk about drag in our society in the most literal sense. When I talk about the laws that people fought at Stonewall over, that is the literal sense. It was like you could not wear certain clothes. And throughout history, what people were allowed to wear or not wear has been a political conversation. The Zoot Suit riots.
100%.
Heck,
even in the 90s, the local high school here, girls, when they graduated, they had to wear dresses and not pants underneath their cap and gown. And you're just
or what tattoos you can or can't have on your knuckles right now, right?
Or how long your hair can be in school systems and or at offices.
Long-haired hippie boys need not apply.
Shave that hippie fuzz off your lip.
My grandfather, before he passed away, told my brother they had kind of a tender moment, and he said, it never bothered me that you had long hair. And we thought, we were like, that's a weird, what? And we thought about it more, and I was like, that was actually a pretty big thing for him to say, growing up in a time where, he was a firefighter, he couldn't have his hair more than a half inch, right? And people who had long hair were deadbeats, right? And from his worldview. So you're right. This has been an ongoing issue and an ongoing point of societal tension.
100%. And even now, right? Like, it seems like it's just been exacerbated with having Trump recently getting reelected to second term.
I was going to make an exacerbated pun or something right there. There's
someone should have exacerbated instead of having him as a child.
That's okay. Or like, I was 14 the first time I learned to exacerbate a situation.
Man, y'all are going to start a mouth that you don't want to come out on this pod. I'm telling you guys.
That is a great, like, almost feels like a George Bushism. You know, like, the situation in Iraq has been exacerbated for quite some time. That was more of a Bill Clinton. I don't know why I went Bill Clinton.
But it was a really
But, you know,
good
Bill
one.
Clinton would say exacerbate.
Yes, 100%. He did not
on what
inhale
your
it.
definition of jizz is. God.
Welcome to the Hometown Holler.
That's right. So now that we know what everybody's exacerbating like, but when politics and politicians attack drag, do you see it as fear, as ignorance, as strategy? Can it be all three? Why do they do it?
I think just like gender identity and me being a non-binary person and a drag queen and another trans umbrella, yes, it can be ignorance, and yes, it can be fear, and yes, it can be calculative. We fully know what we're doing because this strategy has worked before, and Harvey Milk had to fight up against this. Again, queer people were kicked out of their own spaces for being queer. The conservatives' toolbook is time tested and proven, and the only reason I think it works is because we forget that we have our own mind, and that we also really do need to come together around truths, around the fact that we know no one's luring people into clubs to change their children into anything. Same way we know people aren't putting razor blades in the apples. Like, we really want to believe the horror stories, or we want to go home and be like, oh, did you hear Molly, what she was saying today? She is so, but then not say it to Molly's face because we want to be polite and we want to be respectful.
We love a good moral panic.
And drag is not that, because if it were, it wouldn't exist. We're going up against the grain, and it really does seem the most simplest conversation, but just the way we for time is immemorial, we've used butterflies to describe 1,000,001 human emotions. Drag is always simply going to be one of those things that proves to people you can be different, and that will always scare people because they don't know how to manipulate and control it.
That's right. And it's weird because I'll bring up the parade again, because I was out here when it was happening, and it came by, and I saw a dad say to his son, and you can't tell from that far away, right? And he's like, that's a bunch of dudes in dresses, right? That's a bunch of men in dresses. Where you've been around my kid. My kid has came to Pride. You have read stories to him. And she'll come back and she's like, Stormie's dress was so pretty. Like kids have no idea unless they are told specifically to not like it or dislike it, or it's not what it seems to be.
The kids are focusing on the fun. The reason that we're doing this, like the politicians are focusing on politics, which is to twist truths to their advantage. If we make us scary, then they are scary, and then people will start going to them less. But if we listen to the truth is, your kid went to a drag show, or you went to a drag show and you had a good time and people were nice, and we raised money for banned books, or we supported a healthcare nonprofit. It really isn't about, I don't want to be political. I have to be political because I have to defend myself.
Right.
You can't go, when it rains, you're going to put on your rubbers. So, I have to be able to say.
But not when you exacerbate.
But not when you exacerbate. No, because if you're a good person, you do that in the privacy of your home. You don't do it in public.
What you're saying, that reminds me, this is history tangent anecdote. When the first English dictionary was written in England in the 1700s, a guy named Samuel Johnson wrote the dictionary, created it, and he was at some kind of societal function, and a group of proper women from high society came over to him and just said, Dr. Johnson, we'd like to commend you on your dictionary. We went through it and commend you for not including profane and obscene words. And he said, well, I commend you ladies for looking for them. And I think this is going back to the dad you're talking about, is like the people who point out this stuff it's like, why is this what you're going for, right? Why is it all? Why is everything sexual to you? Ooh. Why are you like fast? Like, you're clearly, there's some bug in your ointment, right? There's something that has just captured your imagination that you can't shake, that everybody else is it's just like, it's like that lamp in the room. It just blends in, and we just move on with our conversation, right?
Someone told that person they weren't allowed to wear a dress or blue to school one day, and it has become, it really goes back, and people belittle conversations about trauma and how it's a millennial thing, and but it is as simple as like you become obsessed with something you were told no about, or you become obsessed with something that provided you comfort, and if it's not hurting no one, why is it something that you have to point out as being problematic? Because this person walked away and said, you know what? I want to be fabulous. I want to be sparkly. I want to shine. Lord knows we know how to gild the lily. We're Americans. Our flag has star spangles on it. Yeah. What is wrong with a little Swarovski crystal?
Thing is spangling.
It is literally spangling. So what is wrong with me putting on some crystals and some eyelashes? Come on.
Nothing when you look that good.
You stop it. I'm gonna put both of you in a little like.
Quinn is a great hype man, isn't he?
Y'all stop it. The quick catch times. Y'all need little dolls and being like.
So in a sense, I think drag has it's in some ways it's kind of the front line of the culture wars, right? It's a target. It's it is certainly kind of a favorite boogeyman for certain politicians, but
because it's easy.
But at the same time, like drag has never been more socially prominent and mainstream. And a question I'm curious to know is somebody who, drag is an important part of your life and like who you are. Like, do you think drag has gone too mainstream, or is it not mainstream enough? Like, where does drag fall on that spectrum of kind of cultural visibility?
That's actually a wonderful question. I grew up in the advent of the drag race. So I was going to college right as drag race was starting. And even now I do look back and I'm just like, there was a lot of drag happening. RuPaul was getting popular. People like Lip Synca, or even movies like Hairspray that featured Harvey Fierstein. These people were there. It was happening, but you're right. It wasn't on TV. It was still in the clubs. People could, do a lot of things in the clubs they can't do nowadays.
You still can do cocaine on a mirror.
I wasn't there. I promise. I was at church.
You didn't inhale.
I didn't. Oops! Stop it.
I can't believe I said that.
As I said, I believe in nature and science and green things. But it truly, you're right. It's just on TV. It is a money maker, which is honestly one of the things that has probably afforded it the most protections, is the fact that it makes money, and so it gets to exist in places. I don't want to say there's.
You're saying its acceptance has come with its profitability.
I hate. Yes, it has.
Yeah.
People, I would not be here if drag was not mainstream. I would not be in Burlington, North Carolina, if I didn't feel comfortable to do drag at my college campus and talk about queer rights. And then I would not have probably been doing drag if I hadn't seen predecessors or female performers that I loved and grown up with and wanted to be like Billie Holiday or In Vogue. And so...
Yeah, but it's more than Robin Williams dressing up as Mrs. Doubtfire.
It is. Oh, for sure. Because drag in the queer community comes with activism. Because like you said, we have to create space. And so the popularity of drag has given us money, which has given us access to more space. But while we've been given access to space as a whole, communities are losing rights. Because as it's been big, people in smaller areas can fight about it now. Because they can point to it and say, this is what we don't like. Can we get rid of it? And they're working to get rid of us.
Have you ever got an email, letter, phone call from like a politician being like, calm down, like you need to stop?
No, honestly, they can't, because they'd be liable if they talk to me. But I've had people call politicians and tell them I need to stop. And I have gigs that are not in locations that they were after someone called it and said this event needs to stop,
well, I think the last time you came, you were gonna sit on some panel, and everything was a go for it, and then they just started getting pressure. It felt like, and they asked you not to come.
I was disinvited by the North Carolina, I can't even remember, Department of Arts and Culture. Please let me get that right.
So a state organization.
Yes. Informed a board of a community organization, the African American Cultural Society, that I was not allowed to speak on a panel about spoken word in the modern context. It featured other queer community members that I'm actually friends with. So it was not because I was queer. They did not want the word drag mentioned in reference to the conversation.
Drag.
And it was worth it to remove me. I will say the society fought for me very hard. Excuse me. Time ago. It's gone. It's in the past. I'm getting a little emotional. But anyways, the people who organized it fought for me. I was still paid, fortunately. I bet I won't get asked back this coming year. And I also have to ask, we didn't get to have a conversation. We did, fortunately, thank you to the North Star in Durham, allowed us to reschedule it and redo it in its original conception. But anyways, yeah. So
Are you seeing more of stuff like that or less of stuff like that?
I had 2 bomb threats last year. One was on ArtSpace.
Wow.
I was doing a drag story hour reading. Someone called in a bomb threat. Of course, we canceled immediately. And it's really hard because those things are remembered and then you have to reschedule them. And people's already, people are not coming back. Very often they're not coming back. There's been a lot of things that have happened. I have family members who've been doxxed. My drag sister was a part of the Moore County lights going out, and things like that have been happening. Whether people reach out online and tell us we're awful people, or I have worked in my early careers, probably 6 years ago, had my information leaked from a personal computer of an organizer.
Well, I mean, you would. I assume you expect, and I know what assuming does.
Come on.
But I'm sure you expect some sense of trolling on the internet, right? That's, that's coming. When you put up fun, somebody's going to come hate on fun because there are fun haters everywhere. But moreover I know it's scary because it's scary to me because it'd be an event, I would be at.
Yes.
Are you having to think twice now that you're doing, I mean, I'm sure you always did, but does it feel like now, because I feel like with Trump's second election or being elected the second time, that he's emboldened a lot of people and just getting these bomb threats and stuff. Did you, after January 20th, did you feel like you had to move differently?
A vibe shift?
Come on. I think after January 6th. No, stop. We have literally had to increase security measures. We have a wonderful group of volunteers that I work with, specifically with Drag Story Hour, but other community events when requested, to just watch the front doors and things like that. I remember when after Pulse, which was 6 years ago.
That was 2016.
So I just remember being in a space that we performed in Raleigh, just for having fun. And me and my drag mother looked at each other in the face at the time. She was like, "Yeah, girl, I got the same thought. Anything goes down, go to the door. Don't even worry about me." And I'm like, "Okay, heard." And now there has been some conversations like, should we still be doing children's events? My mother has asked me about, she's like, "Are y'all worried?" And I was like, yes, they're mostly empty. They usually only happen with the very big public locations, ones that can have their federal budget threatened or their local budget threatened. And we do keep things, even when I was still a community organizer in my day job, there were times when it was private email list, or you would only advertise short advertisement times. To be honest, it is a double-edged sword, but there was just so people didn't know. And even local bars back at home have had issues with people coming in and being rude, but nothing too dangerous.
You're a participant.
Yeah.
You're in it. You're a performer. But from a spectator's standpoint, my standpoint, I felt like, and this might be just ignorant to say, but I know we weren't getting over the hump, but it felt like, especially here when Pride started doing Burlington and the way
doing it well. We have a good Pride. We
all
had
had one of the, I've said it many times on the record.
Yeah, with you and your queens coming in and kings,
thank you,
doing your I felt like we were getting over the hump, and I know that might be the wrong saying of getting over the hump, but it felt like we were moving in the right direction. And now I feel like it has just been pulled, and so it's, I don't want to say refreshing to hear, but just hearing your perspective and hearing what it's like in your shoes, where it did kind of just like, now Mama's asking me, am I safe? Because Mama wasn't asking you before as much.
Unless I was on NC State's campus. No, stop. No, you're not wrong. Honestly, since Mayor Ian Baltutis was ousted, I think there was a big shift in Burlington. When we first started, actually the first Pride we had gotten a gun threat, and there was an article that was released in the local journal. An employee of Elon University wrote a very scathing article about the stunk, if you will, coming to a small town like ours. And that riled up some feathers. Fortunately, the team of Alamance Pride got together, and with support of the local officials, we were good and nothing happened. It rained, my bad. But yeah, I do remember back then when I had to have my costumes pre-approved, not by the Pride organization, but by people to make sure that they'd be comfortable with it being in Burlington. And I remember we would bring people out to events, and we'd have a lot of people in support of us, and people didn't like that. And fun haters. And I have seen, funny that you say, those scowls from the top of the float during Christmas, every 2 corners or so, usually not right in the main street, but as soon as you get a little further out from the city center, people are like, why is she dressed up like Mrs. Claus with her ashy self? Or his ashy self, depending on what they're saying.
He wants to see what's under there.
Or he wants to wear it, either or and both.
Yeah, gotta see that search history.
You gotta stop it. And you're not wrong. I'm fortunate that we have groups in support. I do think, like, the body reacts to sickness. Our antibodies are a little activated.
Some inflammation going on.
So people like yourselves, for example, Transcend Alamance is now an organization. Even some
shout out to Rachel Hopkins.
Thank you. So the network is reinforcing itself, even if the space we had is coming into us.
Well, thank you.
You're here.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
It's really the Burlington. I go places so much, and I talk about the love at Alamance Pride. Or when people every year they write a review about oh, I don't go to Pride because it's so capitalistic. I'm like, that's the places you're going to. And honestly, maybe y'all. And honestly, I'm there is this thing versus outsiders versus insiders. But it's one, if you haven't found a home that you love, maybe you should come to a place where there is love, like in Alamance County. And then 2, maybe we should be supporting the local prides and showing up for them. Showing up not just in spaces and taking up parking spaces, but also show up, buy something, donate to the Pride organization. Truly, we are in a point where we're talking about Trump and Doge taking over the federal government and taking away money and funds. People are losing their jobs, and those usually are the people who work for other people: social workers, case managers, lawyers, nonprofits. If we can, we need to show up for our local prides. New York got it.
Right.
Chicago got it. Miami got it. LA got it. Show up for your local prides, whatever it looks like. If it means volunteering to be, I know you said, I assume there's people like you, Dan. I would pay money for you to show up in a little trans-colonial uniform with a little pop gun.
So actually, I want to pitch to you. I've got an idea for a reenacting. I've long thought, you occasionally have $1 million ideas.
Okay.
This is a $1 trillion idea.
Bring it.
It is a reenacting troupe that does historical interpretation for LGBTQ plus members, soldiers in the American Civil War, called The Blue and the Gay.
I would watch The Blue and the Gay.
We know you would.
I would watch.
Civil War's got a stone wall.
Civil War's got. Oh my! The police going. Oh my!
I thought about this.
If you could organize it as a one-night show, I will narrate.
Oh, that stone wall won't be the only
Stop
thing
it.
hard.
Stop it. Not a dry eye or seat in the house.
This has been a great episode. we all of us together. There's some synergy here. Stormie, we're coming up on time, but we appreciate you coming all the way out to see us, and this time taking the time and energy to bring more. Go to that next level.
I tell the kids I dress for you. Whenever they tell me I'm dressed, this is for y'all. Come on.
So on that with kids, leave one note here.
Yes.
What's your message to that young queer kid that is watching you from afar, but daddy's pulling his arm and saying, "That's no boy." What do you say to a queer kid who knows they're queer?
In life, there will be mountains and fences to climb, but know that nothing can keep you from being you, and you're not the only one.
Well, Daniel.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Stormie Daie.
Shocks and kisses.
Bye, y'all.